I've worked with over 6,000 real estate agents, team leaders, broker owners, many of which are earning multiple 6 and even 7+ figures per year. But in this video, I want to talk to you about the specific agent who has gone from earning $0 to generating over a 6-figure income in this business. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how we've done it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the strategy side. All right. Then I'm going to break down the specific nuance, give you the exact context, walk you through it step by step. All right. So the first thing, if we look at this, is we've gone from, so when I start working with a real estate agent, the first thing that we do is most of the time we go from a buyer-based business to a listing-based business. So this is one of the first things that we do from a systems perspective. Most of the agents that reach out for coaching are very heavily buyer-centric. Most of their business comes through helping buyers purchase a home, which is totally fine if that's your thing. One of the first things that we do, however, I think why a lot of agents reach out is they want to get away from that, get more control over their time and their income so they can work more of a predictable Monday through Friday schedule, not have to work with buyers nights and weekends. So the first thing that we do is we completely switch their strategy from a buyer-centric business model to a listing-focused business model. Now, this doesn't mean that we're not going to work with buyers, but the buyers that we generate will come as a result of listing property, not the other way around. So that's number one. Number two is we put in what we call an unpaid direct outbound business model. All right. So let's talk about what does that actually mean. So when I say unpaid, we're not putting in a business model that requires you to invest a lot of money. Most of what we do doesn't require you to have any money whatsoever. What it does require, however, is a strong mindset and your ability to develop strong sales skills over time. So when we look at the model, when we say unpaid, this means we're not for the most part, we're talking about agents that go from earning, not a lot of money right now to earning over $100,000 per year. We're not investing money into marketing and mass advertising or buying leads. We're not doing any of that. It's unpaid. Direct. What does direct mean? Direct means that we're going to communicate proactively directly with the consumer. We're not going to businesses, we're going direct to the consumer. Outbound means that we initiate the conversation. So this is an outbound model, not something where you put some type of mechanism out there and wait for people to contact you, but it's just the opposite. It's where you're initiating conversation. So this is an outbound prospecting model. Now I'm going to show you all of the numbers. We're going to really, really break this down right now. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you our tracking software from agents that I'm actually coaching right this second. All right. And so let me walk you guys through this. So this is the data from 2023 of last year. Okay. So obviously I'm making this video in 2024 right now, but I want to just show you the conversions because this is what we're going to use for the remainder of the video. Okay. So we're not looking at the buyer conversion funnel. I told you, you're not going to stop working with buyers, but your buyer business will be generated through listing property. And quite frankly, the best buyer opportunities come from listing property. We're going to look at conversions actually from the listing side. Okay. So when we talk about direct outbound, I talked about we're initiating the conversation. Well, we're going to look at the numbers and we're going to break down the numbers out of 125,000 contacts. Okay. So we've got a nice data set. Now, of those conversations, the first thing that we're going to look at is appointments set. Okay. So when we look at this, I'm just going to do a couple of these things manually, and then we'll break down some of the conversion funnel. So when we look at this, I'm just going to grab my calculator real quick. We have 21,215 hours prospected. Okay. So if we look at that and then we divide that by the number of conversations that we had, which was 125,190 in last year. Whoops, let me just go 125,190 divided by 21,215. We get 6 contacts per hour. So I'm just going to write that down. So 6 contacts per hour. That was the average. All right. This is why the blueprint I'm going to walk you through, it's going to be super, super specific. It's going to be very, very detailed. When you're done watching this video, you should know exactly what you need to do to generate a 6-figure income plus. All right. So that's number one. The second conversion is we have to say, okay, of the amount of people that we actually talk to, how many leads do we generate? Well, we generated last year with the agents that I'm coaching right now over 10,000 seller leads. We didn't pay for one of them. We generated all of them through outbound prospecting by learning a specific skill set. Okay, so we'll talk about that in just a second. So if we look at that conversion and we say, okay, if I say 10,884 leads and I divide that by 125,000 contacts, right? 190. What we get is about an 8% conversion on average, meaning for every, so 8% of the people that we talk to turn into a high quality listing lead. Well, Brandon, what is a high quality listing lead? Well, I'll tell you, the way that we define it, when I coach an agent who is not earning a consistent income right now, and the goal is to get them over 6 figures per year consistently, the way that we define a high quality lead here, and I'll just share my screen so you guys can look at this. Number one is they have a specific motivation for why they're selling the house. And it's not because of interest rates or what home prices are doing. So when we talk about specific motivation, we would even break this down a little bit further. And we would say they have a strong desire to sell, meaning they, that is the what? The what? They have the ability to sell the house. A lot of people don't want to sell, but they don't have the ability. They have a specific reason on why they want to sell the house. That's the why. And they have a specific time frame for when they want to sell the house. That's the when. So we have all of that. So we look at all of this as a specific motivation. That's number one. Number two, they have agreed to interview you because they have no agent that they're obligated to do business with. So they have specific motivation. They've agreed to meet with you in person and set up a face-to-face interview. That's number two. Number three, when we look at a high-quality listing lead, they give us permission to follow up. And not only do they give us permission to follow up, they tell us exactly when to follow up. And not just when, but they give us a specific email address for us to do exactly that. So these are the 5 criteria that we look at when we talk about, okay, this is what we look at for a high quality lead. 1, they've got specific motivation. Number 2, they don't have an agent. They've agreed to interview us. Number 3, they have asked us. We haven't forced this on them. They've asked us to follow up. They've explained to us, or they've asked us when to follow up, and they've given us a email address. All right. So let's go back to the numbers. So this is what we talk about. We've generated over 10,000 of those last year. So that's number 2. 8% of our conversations turn into an actual lead. All right. Next, now we want to look at how many appointments did we set? How many listing appointments we set? Well, we set 2,710 listing appointments. So if we just look at that conversion for a second, and we say 2,710 divided by the 10,884 leads that we generated, we know that that's a 25% lead to appointment set conversion. So that's our third conversion. Don't worry, I'm going to show you guys all this on the iPad in just a second. All right. The next thing that we want to look at is listing appointments set to listing appointment met ratio. Okay, so not every single listing appointment that you set is going to come to fruition. Sometimes people will cancel on you, sometimes you will cancel on them. On average, you can see it's a 59% conversion. And that has been trending upwards as we work on how to increase these ratios. Okay, this is what coaching, the process of coaching is all about, is how do we increase your conversion ratios specifically. So this is a 60% from appointment set to met ratio. Okay, fine. Now, what about the closing ratio? Okay, again, this is from agents that are either brand new in the business or they've been in the business for a couple of years and they were just working with mainly buyers from their friends, family, sphere of influence. That's all they were doing. And now we have an outbound business. The conversion was just under 50%. So when we went on 10 listing appointments, 50% of the time, the seller signed a contract. Okay. They signed a listing agreement. So it's 48.6% was our listing appointment met to taken ratio. That's the fifth conversion. Okay. Well, we're not done yet. Okay. So number 6, we say, okay, of the listings that we've actually signed, how many of those actually did we accept an offer on? And you could see it's 50%. And this has been like this for just depending on agent tenure, right? When we look at the data set for agents that are more experienced, it's higher. But this is for agents that are newer to a listing-based business, and it's a 50%. This ratio has stayed the same for years and years and years and years and years. So taken to pending is 50%. Now, what about the ones that go under contract? Okay, almost 90% of those make it to a closing table. So we're going to say 90% from pending to close, where the agent got an actual commission check. And this is all, again, these are 2,500 agents that were not, when we first started working with them, were mainly working with buyers. And we ended up closing about $363 million of transactions. Okay, now let's look at the iPad for a second. So I took notes on this so we can use this right now. Okay, here are the 7 KPIs, key performance indicators. This is exactly what we did in order to help these agents earn over 6 figures per year on a consistent basis. We've done this over 2,500 times. Now, so let's look at what this actually means for you watching this video. Well, we just talked about the goal being $100,000 plus, right? So that's the goal. All right, fine. So let's just pretend in this video that your average sale is, we'll just say $350,000. Is that fair? Which means that your average commission check on this, let's just, we'll use 2.5% of the sales price. So let's go 350,000 times 2.5%. We're going to say that your average commission check is $8,750. Cool? Now, yours might be a little bit different, but for right now, we'll just use that. All right? So, fine. Well, what is the actual plan then? What's the actual plan? Well, let's look at it. So, number 1, how many units or closings do we need? Well, if the average commission is $8,750 and we want to earn $100,000, we can just take $100,000 divided by $8,750. And we know that you need about 11, we'll just say 12, you need 12 units in order to accomplish the goal. All right. So if your average sales price is $350,000, you need a closing every single month to make that happen. All right. So, well, what does that mean? Well, number 2, if you're going to close 12 transactions, we just said that 90% of your pendings will close. Okay. So how many deals do you need to put under contract in order to close 12? So if we take 12 right here and we divide this by 0.9 or 90%, right? We're getting the conversion from the conversions we just did. That means that you're going to need, So we're going to say pendings. We'll even round up just to make this foolproof. You need 14 pendings. Okay. So that's number 2. Well, what else do we need? If you're going to put 14 under contract, well, we just said you've got to have some listings actually taken, right? And so we're going to divide 14 by 50%, right? So 14 divided by 50%, which is the conversion from what we just did, means that in order for you to make 100K, you need to take 28 listings. Hopefully you're sticking with me on this. Now, in order to take those listings, certainly you're going to have to meet with some homeowners, right? We just said, so we talked about these conversions so far. So the next one we're looking at is the listing appointment met to taken. We just said it was 50%. So if you need to take 28 listings, we're going to divide this by 50%, which is the closing rate. Okay, and you can just follow along, pause the video, and write out this plan as I do this with you. Okay, so if we need to take 28 listings, how many listing appointments do we need? Well, we'll just take 28 divided by 50%, and we need 56 appointments. Now, let's keep moving. Well, let's look at the next conversion. How many appointments do I have to set in order to go on those appointments? That's the next conversion, right? So let's look at this for a second. So if it's 60%, so we divide this by 60%. 56 divided by 60% is, what is that? 56 divided by 60%. So listing appointments set, you're going to need to set 93 appointments for the entire year in order to make the plan work. Fine. If I have to set that amount of appointments, okay, now we have to say how many leads do you have to generate in order to do that? So we're going to divide this by 25%. Again, I'll clarify all of this in a second. So how many leads do you need? How many leads do you have to generate? So 93 divided by 25%. Well, in this case, you need to generate 372 leads for the year in order to set 93 appointments. Okay, well, Brandon, if I need that many leads, how many people do I have to talk to? Well, we just said it's an 8% conversion from contact to lead, right? So let's divide this by 8%. How many contacts do we need? So 372 divided by 8%. We need, this is contacts. This is conversations with homeowners about selling their home. You need 4,650 over the course of a year. Well, Brandon, how long is that going to take? Well, all we have to do is divide this by 6. Why? Because there's 6 contacts per hour that we're making on average, right? You can just use the ratios from 2,500 agents that have walked before you. So if I just divide that number by 6, you come up with, here's what we need. Hours spent prospecting equals 775, right? So let's just look at this. Remember, these over here are all the KPIs that we just did. These are all the conversions. This is how you do the math, okay? So if you just break this down, this is the plan. This is the annual plan, right? If you just break this down in half and say, okay, well, what does that mean monthly? Well, all you have to do is divide all those numbers by 12, right? So units, what do you need? You need 1 closing per month. Pendings, you need about 1.5. Listings taken, just 28 divided by 12, right? You probably just need a little over 2, right? So you probably need about 2 listings per month. Listing appointments, how many do you need per month? So 56 divided by 12, you need about 4 listing appointments per month. Now you can start to say, okay, wow, this is a lot more clear now. Now, appointments set, so 93 divided by 12, you need to set about 8 appointments per month to go on 4, to take 2, to put 1.5 under contract, to actually close on 1, right? Well, how many leads is that per month? Well, 372 divided by 12 is about 30 leads per month that you have to generate. Well, how do I do that? You got to talk to some humans. 4,650 divided by 12, you need about 390 contacts per month. Well, how many hours is that going to take me, Brandon? Well, let's take the total, 775 divided by 12, and you come up with 64 hours per month. If you start to break this down even more, and you say, okay, well, what does that mean daily? I really want this to be clear. 64 hours per month. Let's just say you work 20 days per month. That's 5 days a week. You take the weekends off. My friends, this is 3 hours per day. I just made a video last week talking about the power of 3. Okay. Well, how many contacts is this per day? So 390, if we need that for the month, divided by 20, well, you need 20 contacts a day. You need 20 conversations per day. This ends up being, if we take your leads, we'll just go like this. Your leads, 30 divided by 20 working days, you only need, what is that? 30 divided by 20. Yeah, you only need 1 to 2 leads per day to make this entire thing work. And this is super clear. And I hope that after you look at this plan, you say, okay, wow, nothing clarifies like clarity. And some people, after seeing this, will say, wow, it's like seeing for the first time, meaning I've looked at this business of real estate that I've been in for so long, and it's been so overwhelming on how I'm going to accomplish my goals. I hope that when I show you this, look, here's the plan again. It gives you absolute clarity on not what you could do, not what you should do, but exactly what must be done in order for you to get to where you want to go. And for those of you that have aspirations of earning over 6 figures or more, this is the plan. These are actual numbers from actual agents doing the actual work, and you can use these averages. Some agents convert much higher than this. These are just averages. And if you use the averages, like I just walked you through in this video, you can build a plan that will outline exactly what you must do. And so it's up to you now to put this plan into place from a mindset perspective, from a skills perspective. Certainly, if you want my help, let's have a conversation about potentially working together in 2024 and making this your reality.